The hull speaks before anything else does. Not in words, in vibration. A low, structural moan that travels up through the deck plating and into the soles of your boots. A sound the eye, Bathys, makes when Karath 9 is pressing in from all sides and the pressure compensators are working hard enough to heat the secondary conduits. I had been hearing it for 11 hours by the time Commander Vorrach gave the order. 11 hours of that groan, and the sensor board in front of me, and the knowledge that somewhere above 400 kilometers of crushing amber atmosphere, the Vorrach were waiting. I am not a dramatic man. I have logged sensor data in asteroid belts, in debris fields, in the ionized wreckage of dead relay stations at the edge of mapped space. I do not reach for grand language, but I will say this, sitting at that console in the belly of a gas giant, watching the Vorrach fleet paint the upper cloud deck on passive return, was the longest morning of my career. We had dropped into Karath 9 3 days earlier on a geological survey run, mapping the deep layer mineral strata for the Colonial Resources Office. The kind of tasking that sounds unremarkable in a briefing and feels very different when the pressure gauge climbs past 500 atmospheres and the ammonia concentration outside the hull would dissolve an unshielded person in under 4 seconds. The Bathys was built for it. She was not a warship. She was not graceful. She was a pressurized cylinder with a reinforced spine, magnetic hull plating rated to Class 7 atmospheric conditions, and drives powerful enough to push her weight through fluid that weighed more per cubic meter than most planetary crusts. She was ugly. She was the most capable deep environment survey hull the Survey Directorate had ever fielded, and no one outside the Directorate cared about her at all. The Vorrach arrived on our second day down. I picked them up on passive. 17 drive signatures in high orbit. The electromagnetic signature of a Vorrach battle group. Tight formation. Weapons at standby. They were not there for us. I am certain of that now, and I was nearly certain of it then. We had stumbled into a territorial assertion, the Vorrach claiming Karath 9's system as a waypoint in their expansion corridor, unaware or indifferent to the Survey Directorate's prior mapping claim. They were there for the system, not for the survey hull 400 kilometers into the thermocline. Because they did not know we were there. That is the part that requires explanation. The Bathys, on passive, in the thermocline, presents a sensor return roughly consistent with a medium fragment of silicate iron debris, the kind Karath 9's upper storm layer sheds constantly, as the atmospheric chemistry strips mineral content from captured asteroid material. We were not transmitting. Our drives were at minimum idle, just enough to hold station against the current. To the Vorrach sensors above the cloud deck, we looked like a rock, a dead rock, if we registered at all. Commander Vorrach made the call on hour 9. She did not consult Fleet Command. We were too deep for tight beam relay, and she was not about to bring the antenna array up far enough to reach orbit and hand the Vorrach a live transmission to triangulate. She did not call a formal meeting. She came to my console, looked at my passive plot of the battle group for perhaps 30 seconds, and said, quietly, "Oh, do ya? When I give you the word, I want full active. Every emitter. Don't wait for my count." I said, "Yes, Commander." She said, "We are going to climb." That was the whole conversation. I want to be precise about what climb meant in practical terms. The Bathys at idle sits in the thermocline like an object that has decided to stop falling, getting her moving upward, against 400 atmospheres of pressure, against the current of the deep circulation layer, against the sheer inertia of her own mass, requires bringing the drives to full output, not cruise, not transit, full. The kind of power draw that lights up every emitter on the hull, heats the drive nacelles to a temperature you can see on thermal, and produces an electromagnetic signature so far outside debris that no sensor operator in the Vorrach fleet was going to mistake it for a rock. We were going to announce ourselves by becoming undeniable. Vorrach gave the order at hour 11, 22 minutes. The drives came up. I felt it in the deck before I saw it on the board, a shift from the low structural moan to something deeper, something that resonated in the chest. The pressure compensators screamed for 3 seconds and then steadied as the hull began to move. I brought every active emitter online simultaneously, navigational radar, deep field sonar, the survey array's full electromagnetic suite. The Bathys stopped being a rock. She became a signal. On my passive board, the Vorrach battle group changed. I had been watching their formation for 11 hours. 17 ships in a standard territorial assertion spread. High orbit, weapons at standby. A patrol pattern so routine it had already begun to feel like wallpaper. In the space of 40 seconds, that pattern dissolved. Ships that had been holding station for hours began to move, not toward us, laterally, repositioning, which in Vorrach tactical doctrine means a formation that was not expecting contact, is trying to get eyes on something its sensors were not configured to find. We were at 360 kilometers when the first active ping hit us from above. Vorrach ranging pulse. They were trying to get a hard return on whatever had just lit up inside a Class 7 gas giant. I logged it and kept my eyes on the ascent rate. 280 kilometers. The current in the mid-thermocline layer was pushing hard against our port side, and the hull was complaining about it. But the drives were winning. They were always going to win. That is what the Bathys was built to do. At 200 kilometers, the Vorrach chatter changed register. I am not fluent in their communications protocols, but I have enough passive intercept experience to read energy level in a transmission burst. What had been ordered and measured became something else. Shorter bursts, higher repetition, the electromagnetic signature of a command channel being used hard. I have read the translated intercepts since, in the after-action archive. The battle group commander was asking his sensor section the same question 4 times in 90 seconds. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? His sensor section did not have an answer that fit any category they carried. 140 kilometers. The atmospheric pressure outside the hull had dropped enough that the compensators shifted down a register, and the groaning stopped. The Bathys climbed in something close to silence, which felt wrong after 11 hours of noise. I could hear the ventilation, and the soft click of the sensor board updating, and nothing else. No one on the crew spoke. There was nothing to say. At 80 kilometers, the upper cloud deck came apart around us, not dramatically. Bathys is not a ship that does dramatic. The amber haze thinned, and the pressure reading went from crushing to manageable, and then the stars came back. I had not seen stars in 3 days. The Vorrach battle group was 200,000 kilometers off our bow in a wide arc, or it had been. When I updated the passive plot from the new vantage, what I saw was a formation in motion, not toward us, away. 6 of the 17 ships had already broken high orbit. The remaining 11 were moving, not at combat speed, not in any kind of ordered withdrawal, but at the kind of velocity a fleet reaches when the ships in it are making individual decisions. The formation was fracturing. I logged it and said nothing for a moment. Then I keyed the intercom and said, "Commander, battle group is dispersing. I have 11 contacts still on plot and declining. The other 6 are already out of passive range." Vasic's voice came back flat and even. "Log it." "Yes, Commander." "Mark position of every contact. Full passive record from drive up to current." "Already running." There was a pause. Then she said, "Good work, Oduya." That was the commendation. That was the whole of it. I have been asked since, in various debriefs, what I thought the Vorrach saw when the Bathys breached the cloud deck. My answer has not changed. I think they saw the return their sensors had been painting for 2 days. A medium debris fragment, dead in the thermocline of a Class 7 gas giant, and then they watched it power up to full drive output and climb 400 kilometers under its own authority, undamaged, into open space. I think their sensor section gave that data to their commander, and their commander had no protocol for it. The Vorrach Dominion does not catalog debris that decides to leave. I logged the encounter as Sensor Event 7 Karath 9, filed it with the Survey Directorate, and went to find something to eat. The hull was quiet, the stars were back, the work was done. That was enough.